Thank you everyone for getting out of bed Sunday morning and being here. Today I want to speak about colonics a little bit outside of the large colon. I loved all of our presentations yesterday, and in a way I feel like what I'm presenting this morning is a culmination of all those presentations in a sense. When we do colon hydrotherapy, for me I feel like we are doing so many things. We are working on so many levels, and we don't have a language for that in a way, or not in my language, not in Australia where I come from. Colon hydrotherapy is for me a modality that I would like to see in our country anyway in the future to be a standalone therapy. But with good training behind it, as David said yesterday, it's about not just about learning the techniques of a device that we're working with. I was always taught to say device, not machine. We don't have a motor in it, so it can't be a machine. It's in fact a device. And I think that in itself is a language, our fluid language that we have is one of the things that makes colonic hydrotherapy hard to discuss and talk about, because people have so many meanings for one therapy. And in Australia, I in fact talk about closed colon hydrotherapy as opposed to open. So I'm not sure what the mix is here, but in Australia just a couple of weeks ago I held a conference and we had opens and closed because it's a need of education in the community is my sense. So that's really the basis that I'm working from. So today I'm presenting some of my thoughts. Today I'm presenting some of my ideas and what I share with my therapists that work for me. I've got to learn all these gadgets. So, who am I? Who am I? That's a question I constantly ask myself. For the past 10 years or so, I have been a closed colon hydrotherapist. I developed a company called Bottoms Up Colonics. I did this after I came from being a burnt-out social worker of 20 years. I worked with children who were very abused, and they were in institutional care. I found myself in a place where I needed to find something different to do where I wouldn't be so stressed, I thought at the time. So Bottoms Up Colonics was born in 2005. When I, in fact, started to do colon hydrotherapy or had my first session, I went around to a lot of therapists because I didn't think that I was intelligent enough or I wasn't made of the right thing to be a colon hydrotherapist. So I actually experienced a whole lot of different therapies, I guess, in that research time, and made some of my own conclusions from that as well when I set up my own company. The cultural cuisine is once I learned about colon hydrotherapy and started to learn the body, remember I'd lived all my years in my head, so I knew about the brain. But in fact, one of my turning points was after a therapy, I went and sat in a car, and the visor, the visor you put down for the sun, it had a mirror on the back. And it was actually face down into my body, and it really introduced me to my body for the first time. And I remember thinking that and saying that actually out loud. So for me, coming from 20 years of psychotherapy, it was quite a moment for me to go, wow, I've got a whole body here that actually can work with me. I don't have to fight against it. And unbeknownst to me, as I think a lot of people that come into our clinics, I didn't know that I was chronically constipated. When you grow up with an issue, you don't actually see it as an issue because you learn just to live with that pain. You just learn that's normal. You don't think that going to the toilet once a month is a problem because it's just the way it is. So after I'd born Bottoms Up, I then decided about food, and I was learning the body ecology diet then by Donna Gates. So Donna Gates, really, we talk about Natasha McBride and different gaps and now paleo protocols, but Donna has been around for a very long time, over 20 years, talking about working with the digestive system so that we can easily digest our food and absorb nutrient. A basis for her of doing that was around fermentation, using fermented products. So I then started, because I guess inherently education, running workshops, and then out of that was born cultural cuisine. which was about teaching people how not just to ferment sauerkrauts or kefir, but also to know how to put food on their plate. I couldn't believe people didn't know how to make a salad or cook some vegetable or peel a pineapple. It was sad for me in a way. I feel like we have hard done by in Australia. Again, I'm talking a whole generation of people that didn't know how to make basic whole food, and everyone wants a diet, and for me it's not about a diet, it's about it's a whole food, something that's not in a package, and probiotic rich, so lots of fermented foods to get our gut flora right. So then culture cuisine come about, and we do a lot of workshops, fermenting and cooking workshops that are all gluten-free, sugar-free, dairy-free, everything free but taste-free is what I say. And then just a couple of weeks ago, I put on the first ever colon hydrotherapy conference in Australia. So in Australia, we are a vast country with a lot of different people with a lot of different ideas, and if you belong to one association, you get this, and you belong to another association, you get this, but there was nothing to bring us together as a collective. So a couple of weeks ago, we did that for the first time in Australia, and that was an outstanding success, and I'm quite proud of that we were able to pull that off, and that will happen again next year. I'm going to forget about that because I'm going to get confused. At the moment in Australia, in my work, I started doing colonics up here in Mackay. So that's where I started. It was a mining town, coal mining town, and cane farmers. So my population was sick and not very well educated on diet or how to live well, if you like. I became very busy very quickly. When I first set up, I was in like a very rural place, an hour from a main regional centre. So I was in fact a little north of Mackay there. I then set up in the Mackay Regional Centre, and I had people say to me, because we have a transient population there wanting to have bottoms up elsewhere because they liked the therapy that we offered or the service that we offered. And then, for whatever reason and ever how it's occurred, I set up a franchise system. And normally people think franchise and they go McDonald's and, oh my God, not McDonald's and Subway and all that sort of bad stuff. If you look at a franchise system in a pure form, it's actually an interdependent relationship, which is what we try and build with our clients. So it's about working together but not taking away the power from one. And the franchise system allowed me then to set up and infiltrate communities without having to have a huge amount of capital to start off with, because obviously everyone invested into this company. So I now have a clinic in Mackay. We have one at just above there called Bundaberg. We have one in Brisbane now at a place called West End. We have a little one in Lismore just down here on northern New South Wales. You might know of Byron Bay, maybe not. It's a very beautiful place, the most easterly point in Australia. It's actually my hometown, that's where I grew up. And then we have one down here in the wine capital of Australia, Old Ranella in South Australia near Adelaide. And we've got another couple coming up, and then we're stopping for a while for me to regroup. I give a lot of support to each of these clinics, so they call me all the time. I'm goes there, and we run workshops and information. As I said, it's very much around education for me. So when I talk about bottoms-up colonics, I see it as a soul-based business. It's got a mission of community education, offering the opportunity for individuals to reclaim their health through reconnecting, and it's reconnecting to their body and spirit self with a better understanding of how their digestive and their related organs work, allowing them to embrace and all it has life to offer them and them it. And this was my experience when I had colonics coming once again. Remember, I come from psychotherapy background, so it was like this whole new level of healing for me. It was like, wow, I can feel things differently. So when I talk about colon hydrotherapy, or when I've got someone on the table, I guess, or I'm teaching the people now that are in our clinics and and elsewhere. We're talking about the digestive system, and we've talked a lot about all this yesterday. So as I said, it feels like we're bringing it a bit together. We obviously talk about the digestive system. Being more conscious, though, of then the lymphatic system that we're working with. Being more conscious of our nervous system, and in particular, as we spoke yesterday, about our vagus system. Our neurotransmitters and our microbes, we have a whole universe going on inside our bodies. We are basically a walking host, and it's sort of nice to think about that and go, wow, that's pretty amazing. And then, of course, our energy system, or our emotional system, our spiritual system, coming from psychotherapy and psychology and then going into the world of energy medicine. I sort of straddle those two languages. So after being in the clinic for nearly 10 years, so I guess on average my weeks were about 40 clients per week. So it was a fairly busy clinic. And when I'm with my client, I was with my client. There was nothing else going on out in the world. I was very focused on them, and still am. But my question was, because my critics and our critics always say you can't do colon hydrotherapy because it takes away the good bacteria. It reduces the colon tone, the peristalsis, makes your bowel lazy, and the things that we hear all the time. So you hear that, but on the other side, you've got all these clients that are reclaiming their health. And it's like, wait there, how does that work? Like, if I'm taking all of this out, why have I got someone here now that is happy, they're smiling, they go to the toilet, they have a good relationship, they don't have IBS or cancer anymore? Like, how is that working? Like, you're telling me it's this, but I see this? So it's my mind. So I was lucky enough to meet up with Dr. Margie Smith. So she is a researcher and scientist in Australia. Look her up, Smart DNA. She's a molecular geneticist, and she's an amazing lady. So she was happy to come on board with us here at Bottoms Up, and we ran like a little pilot study to see if what I'm thinking is worth trying to find funding for to do a bigger study. So we did this year a little a pilot study. Her figures aren't all out. Her report is not finalised as yet, but she has told me there is enough good information and enough good results for us now to go to the next step. So for me, that's so exciting. It's like, yay, I'm not going crazy. This is what I'm seeing is real. So in this pilot study, we had 20 subjects. And we didn't, all that could happen was that before they came to us, they could never have had colon hydrotherapy before or eaten any of our fermented product range. So other than that, they could come in. We had 20 people, 20 subjects. It was for a period of 40 days because I wanted client compliancy. I wanted clients to finish the project. And in that time, they had 4 colonics, and we did 3 stool samples. They had colonics on day 2, 3, 4, and 21. And then they took stool samples on day 1, day 6 to 10, because remember, we've got people with motility issues, and I didn't want them to take laxatives, so it was day 6 to 10. And then at the completion, day 40. The only thing that they had to do with their diet, it was a whole food diet. So I asked them they could eat anything they want, which they struggled with, but it couldn't come in a packet. It had to come out of the fruit and vegetable shop, and I didn't distinguish about how much protein they ate. I've got my own thoughts on that, but in this sample that was okay. But what they did have to do is that they had to eat 1/3 of a cup of our cultured vegetable each day, which is like sauerkraut. Out of this study, we had 12 actually complete. As I said, Dr. Margie sponsored this with Smart DNA. Bottoms Up clinics, the therapists gave their time, and Culture Cuisine gave up their products for free. So in in doing the study, as I said, Dr. Margie is still putting her figures and the microbial diversity down. But what we did see is just a big general statement. She'll probably hate me for saying this, but we had in 11 out of the 12 cases, we had an increased microbial value of good bacteria. And there was one that didn't, and it's really interesting because I got them to fill out a food journal on every day that they were on this, and an emotional journal because I'm interested in emotions. And the person that didn't register with the cultured vegetable, she didn't put in her journal that she actually had eaten either. And then when I called her a month later, I called these people a month later, she said, oh yeah, no, I did. So I don't know, her microbe is saying she didn't, but maybe she did. So what interested me though, what my interest is that, and so out of the 12 clients, I've just got 2 for an example. So with one client, she felt that during the 40 days, there was a number of days, and she had her ups and downs, and this was a young mum with young children, and one child had quite severe medical issues, so she would have to go 12 hours to the big hospital, and she had a couple of those episodes in time, so I thought she did well to stay on the program. But however, at the end of it, she was on such a high, and she felt so good. She said it felt like I'm on the other side of chronic fatigue. So while she came with constipation and bloating, and that was her initial thing, her chronic fatigue, she said, has now gone. Then I had the next client was, or one other client came with a history of cancer where she had a complete hysterectomy and lymphoma some time ago. After 2 weeks, the client reported that she had the clearest of heads that she can actually ever remember. And this was a nurse, and she just felt like she could actually just take on life a whole lot easier. And overall, she said that the program made a huge difference to her. She still is sugar and caffeine free. But one of the things that I really was interested in is that she feels really connected to her body. And as I said, that was my experience with colonics. So if we just look, so this is client 1, the one that I first spoke about. So she came in and she marked high 4, 5s, 3s, 5s on constipation, pain in the bowel, allergies, diarrhea because she was constipated, actually not diarrhea, skin disorders, depression, chronic fatigue, and headaches. By the end of the 40 days, she had reduced all of those symptoms. So it just comes back to me, so if colon hydrotherapy, if we're working with this colon, how come I'm getting all these other results? What actually goes on in their body is always my question. And maybe you've all got answers, I don't know that. And this lady that got connected to her body, and I think these, I think it's interesting how, as I said, when you grow up with something, you don't notice it, you know? And when she's been sick for a long time, you don't notice. So she scored quite low in her bloating, her candida diverticulitis, depression, fatty liver, fatigue, and allergies and intolerances. But even though she scored low in these, she still had a reduction in all of those through that 40 days. So once again, by having just 4 colonics, changing up your diet a bit, she had quite a remarkable change. So in this study, while I'm really grandiose, I have big ideas. So I had like, we're going to have these 3 samples and these 3 groups, and we'll get these people. But of course, it comes down to cost at the end of the day, because even though we all gave our services, or the lab cost actually halved their lab fees, it was still a cost of 510 Australian dollars for each person that participated for the lab cost, for the stool samples. So whilst I got 100 initial inquiries within 2 hours, that in itself to me is amazing. I put it on Facebook and said, we want you, if you've got any belly issues, call us, we want you for our study. And my email just went like berserk. But as soon as I got back to them and said it's $510, it got down to 20, which was sort of disappointing, but I think speaks volumes in itself as well about the population that we've got out there that are really not coping very well, and how we can meet those needs. So the differences, we have got enough data to go, okay, we're going to actually do something more. And when I go back to Australia, that's my job now, is to search out funding and put in some government grants for that. I'm interested in the emotional side, as I said, so getting people to do journals, that'll be all computer inputted. And the questions that I ask will be more, I'll get a researcher to help me with those. It won't be so social workery. It will be more psychology, research based. So yeah, and next time when we do the study, we will actually have 4 groups. So we'll have our control group, we will have our clients that do the colonics and the ferment. We will then have clients that just do ferments, and then we will just have clients that just do colonics, and then we will have clients that do nothing. Yeah, so we've got a little bit so we can see where the changes are coming. So for me, when I see all these results and I see this, it's like colonics is a lot more than just removing our fecal matter. And I guess this really hit home to me, and it's with complete respect to all therapists everywhere around the world. But last year when I went to Birmingham for a conference in Birmingham, the international conference over there, and in Australia we're lucky because I can sit down there and see what's going on around the place, you know. And in the States it seems to me that you have to get your prescription from the doctor, and it's really about coming into colonoscopy preparation. It's just about getting rid of that fecal matter. To me, that's a sadness, because to me, the change that I've seen happen, it's like, I don't want that to be the story of the therapy in our country. And then I want, and I think someone said it, maybe I heard that wrong yesterday, but for me, colonic hydrotherapy is about healing. We are healers. We are helping people on their journey of recovery. We aren't making them change. We're giving the environment for their body to find homeostasis to change in their way, in their time frame. So for me, that's quite a humbling position to be in, and a therapy that I want to put out there for people to understand in that way. So when we talk about colonics, it's just a lot more than removing the fecal matter. The journalist report by Morton Walker claims that doctors like James P. Carter, Professor, Head of the Nutrition Section at Tulane University School of Medicine, use colon hydrotherapy as part of an overall detoxification program, and that it promotes the second stage of liver detoxification to cause dissolved poisons to come out into the bile as a solvent. So when I first heard that, it was like, well, if we're helping the liver detox, we're in the blood, you know, we're actually helping the blood clean, and the blood is connected all over our body. So how does the water that I'm putting into the colon decide where to go? It goes all over the body. So now I'm doing a holistic therapy in my brain. And then when I look at this, and we saw a lot of these yesterday, so I won't go into lots of details of this, but the interest for me is, as we spoke about yesterday, is the mesenteric system. And I guess for me, I've done some work with the elders in Australia, Aboriginal medicine women. And I believe this to be the case across the world, is that when we working with medicine people, our elders, they talk about cleaning the blood. So it's about having your spiritual alignment, being clear spiritually and emotionally, but it's also about cleaning the blood. And I feel like when we're doing colon hydrotherapy, we're cleaning the blood. We're offering the blood the opportunity, the cells, to dump. And, you know, we've had the live blood analysis, and you see all those little cells going crazy in there, like under the microscope. Like it's a whole universe in there. And I find that exciting to think that we can work with that mesenteric system. So in putting the water in there, we're actually cleaning the whole system. I don't see it as a one-way system. I don't see the digestive system as food in, food out. I see it as a circulatory system. Yeah, it's got bits that come out, and it should come out. Our waste should come out more often than what it does in our modern world. But it's like we're constantly feeding ourselves, and we can feed ourselves of toxins, or we can feed ourselves of nutrient. We can feed ourselves of love, or we can feed ourselves of hate. Our body will decide. We'll give our body what we're feeling on the day, I guess. I feel like it's a large compost bin, and how I talk about it is that we have in the large colon is our compost bin. So if you think about the mesenteric system is your drip water filter, like a hose. So if we have a good compost that's nice and healthy with trillions of microbe and they're all in there eating everything down and they're happy, if you get a nice compost and you can smell it and it's sweet, and then you put it on the garden and it makes your garden grow beautifully, beautiful vegetable. But if you have a rotten compost with meat, too much meat in it or too much stress in it, it's slimy, it's disgusting. You put it on your garden and it burns it. And I feel that when I come off the land, so this is my analogies, I'm sorry, but it makes sense to me when I talk about that this is our compost bin and we can have a good healthy mulch that is regenerated back through our body, or we can have a slimy sickly one and it will make us sick. Unfortunately, in our today world, I feel like we've got a very slimy one and it's making everyone sick and unhappy and cranky, and that's not a nice place to live. We talk about the large colon all the time, and we forget about the small intestine, other than that's where we get celiac or our villi aren't happy, or we can't go there because of the iliosacral valve, or we don't want the water to go up that and we spoke about that yesterday, don't want the water to come back into the iliosacral valve. This is a small intestine, this is not a large. It does have some diverticuli on the small intestine. And the reason I've got that up there is just to know, and this goes against all of our teachings, I know this, but when I went to I taught with a man named Luis Regis, and he is in the States, and he works and believes that when we're doing colon hydrotherapy, we really are working with the small intestine as well. And of course, we don't put water through the small intestine, through the bowel, through the iliosacral. You don't want that. Although our body's got our Peyer's patches there to make sure that's okay, we're not saying that. But through the process of colonics, through the process of absorption of water, through your mesenteric, through your tissue, through your lymphatic, we are actually helping clean the colon. And this come true to me quite a number of years ago. I had a client who had colon cancer. He had a third... I say half. When I say that, he always says, no, it was only a third. But anyway, he had a third of his colon removed from cancer. He had radiation chemotherapy. He went away. The doctors told him he was well. A year later, he come back, of course. And we see that all the time, I think. And it was liver cancer. The doctor told him, go and get yourself sorted out. You know, it's your time. He wasn't happy with that, to say the least. So he decided to take the alternative method this time. So he went on a month's water fast. He went, I don't know if you've heard of Tyler Tolman, he's got a place in Bali, and you go there, and he charges 30,000 Australian dollars for a month to drink water. Anyway, you go there and you drink water. And colonics and all the other therapies that he offers in that as well. He then came back to me and he sought me out in Mackay and was doing a juice fast. So he hadn't eaten solid food for 6 weeks. And I took videos of our first colonics because all that came through that tube was black sludge. Now that can't come from the large colon because he only had, half to 2/3 of a colon anyway, and he hadn't eaten for ages. He'd been having colonics and enemas every day. So where does this matter come from is my question. And that's always my question. And I think for us not to think that we are working with the small intestine is feeling like I'm cutting out half of the therapy. And I know that we don't have the water come up through the iliosacral valve. I got that physiology. But there's stuff that goes on in the body that I don't think we even really all know quite yet. So the small intestine, and as Michael was talking yesterday, the massage and what we see we get rid of. I've got phones. If anyone ever stole my phone, all they would see is samples of what I've got coming away in the clinic, whether it be parasites, biofilm, sludge, matter, whatever comes away. And we know fecal matter. We know that's that nice fibrous matter that comes through. We've got that. But what's all that other stuff happening? So hopefully in the next year I will get some more answers about that with our testing. And then with auto-intoxication, and we all know about auto-intoxication. and it's defined as a state of being poisoned by toxic substances produced by the body. So when the digestive system doesn't work properly, auto-intoxication sets in. And this happens when food begins to break down without being eliminated. Proteins putrefy and rot, carbohydrates ferment, and oils and fats turn rancid. The body becomes poisoned from its own waste. And another example that made me question what we were doing a lot is I had a client who came to me straight from hospital, and they weren't able to fix him, and they were about to remove quite a large portion of his small intestine actually, because they didn't know what else to do. He was grey, he had a bad smelling breath, and could hardly walk. We did treatments, and I did treatments with him every day, but when we did the insertion, I could hardly put the speculum in. In fact, I had to use a small size speculum. And I questioned, because he wrote nothing on his client form about any operations or anything other than just coming out of hospital. I asked him, and he had actually had a hemorrhoid operation 18 years prior. And he said, I've never been able to do a proper movement since. So in my mind it goes, well, for 18 years, that's just been building up all the way up, you know. And it's like amazing to think that, well, one thing I think, how amazing is our body, how resilient is our body for him to keep getting up, because he was never unwell before this time until he was hospitalised. But once again, it's just, once we cleaned out that large colon, that doesn't have to take so long. But where does this stuff keep coming from? Because I've done treatments on clients that, you know, I might do 8, 9, 10 treatments in a row. And it's like, wow, where is this coming from? What actually happens here? So when we're talking about the lymphatic system, I look at this picture and I see the universe. I see this is like the universe inside our body. And if we've got someone on the table, we're working with the universe. I think it's amazing, and its job that it does to us every day, to keep us well and to keep the load off us if our colon is not so well. So we have our gut-associated lymphoid tissue, our GALT, and I know we're talking about that now. When I first learnt my training, I didn't learn about this, and I didn't learn about the vagus nerve either over 10 years ago. Maybe that's just because of bad training in Australia, I'm not sure. Although the lady that taught me, she had been doing colonics for 60 years in Australia, and she brought it back from the States. I think it's just our understanding as our information increases over the years about our colon and about our intestine. We now have our lymphoid, the sheath, the lymphatic sheath goes up to the brain. We've just found that. So, and they're actually saying that we now have to write the anatomy and physiology books because now we have this lymphatic sheath that we didn't think we ever had. So here's another connection from our bowel to our brain, you know, and it's like we keep learning these things, and I feel like we're just on the cusp of learning so much more. Our Peyer's patches, which we would all know about it. And I think it's just amazing that our body places these things where it needs to be. So like a Peyer patch being near the iliocerebral, it's our high stress area where we don't want toxins to go back in to make us unwell. And I think that when our body was being worked out, whoever worked it out, you know, what I say is, you know, I'm sure when God was designing our body, he didn't actually understand the toxicity we'd be giving it like we're giving it today. But he put in all the stopgaps just in case. So we've got things like the lymphatic tissue and the Peyer's patches and what's going on there to make sure that we're well. And in some ways it's to our detriment because we keep going even though we're sick. And I think, you know, it's like sometimes we have to stop and go, whoo, and recognise what our body is doing. So once again, our lymphatic it carries toxins to the blood. The blood, again, then has to remove these toxins in already an overburdened body. So colonic supports this process. So what I talk about is that colonic supports the process of toxic elimination. So what I'm doing, as I said before, is we're assisting the elimination of toxins. We are assisting our body to remove the toxins so the body itself can find homeostasis and heal itself. Because the body knows what to do. We know when to blink, we know when to heartbeat, we know when to breathe, we know when to eat or drink, maybe too much, but we know all that. And it knows how to keep us well. But what it's got to have is the right environment. And I feel like what we're doing with colon hydrotherapy is the right environment. We've got our neurotransmitters, and once again, we spoke about these yesterday, but it may well be that we'll find out that the neurotransmitters provide better communication and that the energy flow of the body is enhanced when the pollution of the body is cleaned out. That when you reduce the burden of the colon and the small intestine, when you reduce the inflammation, there's a ripple effect in reducing the burden and inflammation in the entire body. So it allows the body to achieve homeostasis and wellness, as I just said. So it's about giving the body the environment. So if we've got someone on the table and we're working with this in our mind, it's very different to having someone on the table just wanting them to release fecal matter. Because for me, it's not about just releasing fecal matter. That's easy. We know how to do that. We can get that done quite quickly. It's what else that happens with our clients over the years. And I guess I've had clients coming to me now for 10 years and more. So you see changes and progresses. And in yourself, when you're doing colonics with yourself, you see what goes on. And if you're awake and aware, you see all that. And yeah, I think it's amazing. And inflammation is the root of all of our diseases at the moment, isn't it? We're seeing this time and time again, and we just had Dr. Greg speak at our Dr. Greg Emerson, who's a functional doctor in Australia, integrative doctor, and talked a lot about the inflammation we have to heal this inflammation. So once again, colonics is a way that we are healing inflammation when we do colonic hydrotherapy. We spoke about, again, the vagus nerve. So once again, now we've got this client that's just not coming in to remove fecal matter and get the colon working. Of course, we can do that. But what we're actually also doing is we've got all these other layers happening. And it's about having an awareness of this. So it's our vagus nerve, our wandering nerve. It goes all over our body. It's another way that our gut connects to our brain, or our brain connects to our gut, really. As Dr. Lara Bryden, she calls it the CEO of calm. It's the commander-in-chief of your parasympathetic nervous system. The vagus nerve is like your body's master reset. And you can go on to websites and you'll find, self-hacked, like hacking ways to reset your vagus nerve. It seems to be the thing at the moment. You can go on and reset your vagus nerve. And we talked some of the ways about doing that yesterday with the breathing. So when you've got someone on the bed, getting them to breathe into their bellies, and I get them to put their hands on their belly, because do you know how hard it is for people to do that? People find it really hard, and particularly fitness fanatics, because they're used to breathing up here. And if you do Pilates, it's all up here. So to get people to put their hands on their belly, to make a little love heart, to put some love in there, and get them to breathe in and out of their belly is very hard work, but that will reset the vagus nerve. But what we're also doing in our therapy is that we do use cool water, and we spoke a lot yesterday about the temperature of the water, and I know that's an interesting topic, and I feel like, once again, I'm stepping outside of what is seen as the norm, but we use cool water. We use water from 25 to 30 degrees. It sort of sits around 27 most of the time. I did that after coming back from Luis. So he taught the soaking method. So it's probably more than the slow fill method where you put the water in slow. So I was first taught, which I think is like a traditional, we fill, we hold, and then we release. And we feel like the body's going like on for me, felt like my body was on a roller coaster all the time with this therapy. I found it very stressful, to be honest, and particularly coming from a very place where I initially came from with such constipation and impaction that I didn't know how bad it was. It was like I was being tortured on that table with this colon therapist that I had. Anyway, she got me better, so that was good. But this way is, with the soaking method, we put the water in, and it's like we flatline. So we slowly put the water in, but we never really empty the valve, the colon. We've always got some water sitting in there soaking, and our fills are smaller. We don't do big fills, we just do little fills. So we're working with the device all the time. We're working with the water. We certainly massage. We use heat packs. I use essential oils on the belly, depending on what's going on for the person, whether it be sage or peppermint. we don't ever let that colon in that session become empty. So we're not making the colon work like this. I'm not overburdening the colon or making it work hard, because I feel like, once again, with the vagus nerve, we want things to flatline. You know, people are coming in stressed and they've got a lot going on, so we want to make it nice, but we want to get results. And you know, after doing the first 5 or so years in the way that I was initially taught, then coming back and doing this method, I feel like the results that I have got in the clinic are amazing. And we get a good return rate because people are happy and they feel comfortable with the colonic. I think that speaks volumes. So once again, like with the vagus nerve, we enemas, and in our case closed colonic, so like sprints for your vagus nerve. Expanding the bowel increases the vagus nerve activation. So you know, when you've got your client, whether it's from just the cool water or they've had that release, but you know, you can see the look on the client's face when they've had like a nice release or they've reset. I mean, that's just gold, isn't it? You just think, oh my God, that's so nice, because that client is walking out and they feel just amazing. And I often feel that that's what we're doing. We're resetting the vagus nerve when we've got that look on someone's face. Of course, we can't, I can't, talk about the body without talking about our energy system and our chakra system. I always like this chart because it links in with the endocrine system. I don't think that's a mistake. I don't think that's a coincidence. It's like we have our chakra system, we need to, we have our energy body, and we heard a little bit about that yesterday, but it's about working with that energy system, and if nothing else, just respecting that person. So don't go into their space and don't make it all, and Kathy Shee and her husband spoke a little about that yesterday as well. We want to introduce ourselves. So for me, coming from 20 years of working with extremely abused children and adults, I always ask permission to go to someone's belly, because my first step when I've got someone on the table is to get that digestive system, that nervous system, that energy body. I want it to trust me. So I've got to ask permission before I can go there. So my first time when I've got someone on the table is always about getting that trust before I do anything. So we'll put the water on and let it rotate, as we were talking yesterday. So we put the water on a slow rate, but it comes out even slower. So it's just all staying in there a little bit, you know. And we can let that go for 5 or 10 minutes, and that can be enough once you've got the hand on the belly and you're doing the connection, just for the client to know. So it doesn't have to be traumatic. It can actually be an amazing healing therapy, and in healing all these areas. Does that mean something, that's not working? David? Has the battery run flat? Just speak among yourselves for a moment. Gracias. So when we're doing the colon hydrotherapy and we're doing these different therapies, and of course, you know, I come from psychotherapy, so a lot of ours and a lot of my work that I do, I guess, or some of our work is around the counselling and people, you know, you come with your own training. But when I first started to do these therapies, I said it was like, I can't do all this cleaning out if I'm not telling people how to fix what's going on in there. Like, it's one job to clean out emotionally and physically. But so when I cleaned out emotionally with people's head and did psychotherapy, I had to give them new behaviours to put in there to replace. And so for when I'm doing colon hydrotherapy, it's like I've got to give the microbe new things to work with. And I want good microbe in there, and happy microbe, and loving microbe, not cranky, grumpy, fat microbe. So that's when I developed cultural cuisine, and we can do probiotics and different strains, and that's all good. But for me, food is medicine, and for me, we've had fermented food around forever. Fermented food doesn't just offer a strain, it offers enzymes, it offers alkalizing, it offers a range of microbe, it offers prebiotics. It is a food that can go into your belly and it can get all the way down there. And one of the things that we did see in my research was, because we got all of our, we had the batches of cultured vegetable tested with the client stool samples, and we had samples of this in their stool, so we know that it gets there. And a lot of the probiotic strains that we get, they don't get there. They just don't get there, and there's been research on that, and sometimes people spend hundreds of dollars in Australia on Pacific strains and this and that, and I feel like if we're not careful, the pharmaceutical company's going to come in and make bacterias now so expensive that people can't afford them, and now we're going to be sick. So let's make our own. It's easy. So we run workshops. So how I feed my clients, I feed them through cultured vegetables. I feed them through workshops of teaching them how to make ferments, how to make vegetables, how to make food that is good for their belly. It increases the immune. I really love this picture because what this is the strength of probiotic liquid. This is cultured vegetable juice. So some juice we have out of the jar. This was a client, and he had, it's a tendon in the finger, and it was bent over like this, and he had to have an operation to get it to go straight. So that first one was a couple of days after, and it started to get like an infection. It wasn't healing for him. And I said, put some cultured vegetable juice in there. Let's let those microbes go in there and make it all better. He did. And a couple of days later, it started to look like this. And in less than a week, it was like that. So my thought is, if that's what's happening on the outside of our body, and I've used this with clients with psoriasis or eczema, and I get them to put the juice on their body. So those bacteria have an amazing ability to heal. So imagine that in your belly, if you've got an inflamed belly, which most of our clients do, that it's healing. So it's to have... I guess I like to have visuals. So for me, it's like I can see now what's happening inside someone's belly when they're eating the cultured vegetable. Don't you think that's amazing? I do. So having a colonic, for me, is renewing every single cell in the body. Every time a close colonic is performed, we are cleaning the blood, we're assisting the lymph and the liver to restore homeostasis. We are resetting the vagus nerve, the nervous system. We're offering a change of chemicals in our brain and reducing our inflammation. This is a complete standalone healing therapy modality. Colonics beyond the colon I sort of feel like I'm talking about a new paradigm. It's about looking at it just that little bit differently. It's about having your client on the table and thinking a little bit more about the other changes that you can be a part of in their life. So every organ, gland and cell in the body is affected by the condition of the colon. And I just wanted to do one example. I'm not quite sure how we are with time. Are we okay for time, David? Yeah. So just before I came away, I opened another little clinic in Lismore, as I said, and there was someone I knew there, and it was a woman, mid-30s, who was going into hospital to have a marina put in and to have an ablation. She had extreme period issues, menstrual issues, and had done for many years. She would, out of every 4 weeks, for 2 weeks, she would bleed. She would have huge clots, she would have brown blood, huge clots, and enormous pain for 3-4 days in that 2-week period that she was having her period. I said to her, I'm opening my clinic. I said, just maybe come to me every day before you go into operation, and let's just see what happens. We can't do anything bad. So I had to convince her, but she'd come in. So she'd come in every day. So we ended up doing 7 treatments in total. Her period was due for that time, because that was the way she also had it organised for her operation as well. which for me, when I do colonics with women, I find is good. It's good to have that colonic when you're cleansing, because we're cleansing on all levels. And I've worked a lot with women. I think gynecologically what we can do to help women that don't have to go is a lot, and we don't even talk about that. But yeah, so it's for this client, so she come to me every day, and she didn't really change her diet. I just asked her to take, she hated food, fermented food. So I have a fermented food powder, and I got her to take that, because I wanted her to put something into her belly. And I also do implants. So I do probiotic implants at the end of a treatment, whether it be a kefir or some type of probiotic that I've made, I put into them at the end of the treatment. So she come in every day. In that time, she got a period. She had, at the beginning of the period, she had no brown blood. It was bright red and it was light. She had one day or one afternoon of heavy bleeding, and that night she got a night sweat. I actually believe that was a healing crisis that actually happened. She did a big cleanse that night. The next day she didn't want to come for a treatment, and I said, please come. This is really important, you come today. She came. She then had no more heavy bleeding, no more clots. Her period went back. Now, in the last couple of days, just as we were finishing, she got a little bit of brown blood, but it was negligible, she said. So what we can do to the body, not what we can do, that's wrong, I don't mean that. What we can offer the body by taking the load is pretty amazing, whether it be for the brain or for your ovaries or for your liver or your lymphatic or your vagus. We're working with so many areas, and Kathy Shee has that big wheel and talks about all those areas that are impacted, and that's exactly what we're doing. So when we're talking about learning and teaching, and we want to teach people, and we want people to reclaim their health. So when I look at statistics, I've been quite involved because of my background in the autism community and working with parents with their kids that are reclaiming them from that. So we do colonics with those young people on their cleansing protocols. And we have statistics that in 2035 we're going to have 1 in 2 children with autism. In 2035 we're going to have 1 in 2 people with cancer. So for me, it's like the canary in the cage is going on here. Are we starting to get worried yet? There is something fundamentally wrong with what we're doing. We have young women now that are 30 that can't fall pregnant. They are having IVF, and I don't know about here in Europe, but in Australia, that's going through the roof. Like, is that not a concern for us? Like, why is this happening? And it's a lot more than just making sure you eat the right diet, because no matter what the people are eating, that doesn't necessarily make them well either. Like, it has to all come together. We have to bring all these modalities together, is my thought. So yeah, we've got a big job ahead of us, but exciting. So that's me. So you can like Bottoms Up Colonics on our Facebook page, on our web page. You can comment on there. You can hashtag us. Yeah, and that's it. So thank you so much. I'm in gratitude for speaking here today.
Comenzamos con turnos de preguntas.
Montserrat, I come from Lerida. I haven't had any experience yet with colonics, but I will have it. I promise you I will. Hello, my name is Montserrat. I come from Lerida, and I haven't had any experience yet with colonics, but I promise you that I will be a fan of colonics from now on. I would like to thank you for your presentation, for being so enthusiastic, so holistic, and I wanted to say something because my husband, I wanted to explain this because my husband was sick and he did have colonics for some time, and I had a bad feeling about it based on his experience because the person who did the colonics to him didn't really put their soul into it. It's like taking some clothes, washing the clothes, and just taking it to the dry cleaners, get it just like a process, like a quick process of cleaning your clothes at the dry cleaners, and that's it. And he was very tired afterwards. And my feeling was like, yeah, it cleans you, but then you feel terrible, and it's not nice. But now I've changed my opinion, because my husband is a coach. He teaches mindfulness, and he's also a yoga teacher. And when we finished yesterday, I called him. I was so enthusiastic because Kathy, she, and you too have mentioned breathing, because breathing has to be involved in colonics. Because if you want to relax, if we want our vagus system to work, it's very important to teach our clients to breathe with the abdomen. And you cannot do a good colonics, and you cannot relax properly if we don't spend 5 or 10 minutes to breathe, to teach our patients to breathe. And what I really loved about your presentation, apart from your enthusiasm, and this is something that Kathy, she also mentioned yesterday when she talked about mindfulness, is how important our involvement can be. Mainly, it's important that we teach our patients to breathe, and to breathe with them together at the same time, because I do believe that without that part, without that element, then I don't think, things can be done in the way my husband did them. It was just a cleansing, but there wasn't this involvement that you mentioned, this holistic involvement that you mentioned.
Thank you. Yeah. So one of my challenges I've set myself is that we start to understand colonics in this way. So in the way that I was taught, and I think it comes not from practitioners not having the heart there to start off with. We're coming with a tradition and a therapy that traditionally was passed down from therapist to student. And I think that we've lost some of that because it was an oral tradition. You were there in the room learning from your teacher. And then now all of a sudden we've tried to put it all into words. And it was the technical side of it. So this is what my concern came up for me last year when I was at Birmingham conference, and it was also technical. And so to me it's a procedure when we talk techniques. You know, it's something that you go in and you have done. Like for women we have a pap smear, you know, you have a breast check, you have a prostate check. But it's colonics, and that's why I call it a therapy. So I'm glad that I've made you think about it again, and it's. Can I just say though, when someone can feel sick after a colonic, that can happen. But it's up to the therapist to talk. So we talk our clients through what's going on, and also about what journey they want to go on in that as well. Yeah. So thank you.
Última pregunta.
Well, in Germany it's not so common to have cultured food, and I'm experimenting with that already since 1 year, but I'm not so happy. Do you have maybe a recommendation where to find a book, or how to learn it, or do you know one simple recipe how to ferment food?
Yeah. Yeah. Look, you can go. I've actually got a recipe book, but it's in English. Is that okay? Well, I actually brought just 2 with me because I had my luggage, so I'm happy to give you one, yeah. But you can look for fermenting food. The thing that I want to just be clear about when you're fermenting is that in supermarkets you'll find ferments, and they'll often, if they're cheap, is because they've actually got vinegar, so it's a pickle, not a ferment. It's very important you understand that. You don't want to have the vinegar or the sugar. Yeah, it's just the bacteria. And really it basically is you make like what I call a coleslaw. So you shred your vegetable. We add a culture starter to it. Maybe next time I'll do a workshop on fermenting vegetable. And then you just let it ferment. But yeah, I can show you that later. It's easy. Very easy.
Okay, thank you, Susan.
Thank you.